Hello everyone, my name's Ryan and welcome to another video where we're talking field recording and basically the 101 on what field recording is and what you'd need if you're beginning in field recording. I started in field recording a few years ago and I thought it was quite as simple as just getting one of these things, a recorder like this Tascam X6, and going out into the world and boom, there we go, capturing sounds, we're rolling. And there is an element of that, but there's also quite a lot more to it, as you'll discover throughout this video. So before we get started, let's just run through what field recording is. Field recording is basically capturing sounds outside in the world and using them. They can be soundscapes, they can be sound effects, we can capture any sound, anywhere, anytime, anything we like for whatever purpose we like. And that's really the beauty of field recording. You could do it as a hobby or you could do it professionally. At the moment, I do it as a hobby, but I'd like to make it into something a bit more professional eventually. My goal for recording sound tends to stem from therapeutic purposes, so I use a platform called Inside Timer to share various recordings, and I capture these recordings with the goal that they help others in their therapeutic journeys and well-being, mindfulness and mental health. So there's a lot of reasons why we might want to capture sounds, and they're used a lot in films, TV, podcasts. You can use soundscapes and sound effects in virtually anything, and they really sort of add to the ambience, the atmosphere, what you're trying to create there. If it's visual storytelling, then the sound can be equally as impactful as the visual aspect. In fact, in some respects, the sound can sometimes be more powerful than the visual aspect. And this is one of many reasons why people choose to sort of make a career and make a living out of recording sounds. Step one, you're going to want a recorder. Something like this Tascam X6 is perfect. There are cheaper options, there are way more expensive options, but I think the Tascam sits just nicely in the middle, somewhere between like a beginner and a more advanced sort of professional piece of kit. However, getting the recorder is the first step of many that you will encounter along your field recording journey. I thought just getting one of these and going out and capturing sounds would be really easy. And there's an element of that, and it is fun and it is enjoyable and it is easy, but there is a lot more to consider as well when you're looking at capturing sound and getting the best out of the equipment that you've got. In terms of recorders, there's sort of four main, maybe five kind of companies that are doing good recording devices. I would say Zoom, Tascam, Sony, OM Systems, which were formerly Olympus, and Roland. And they've all got these sort of variations on handheld recorders. Some older stuff that's no longer available, and then there's some sort of more modern stuff and current things which are out there at the moment. So it's worth checking out all of them. It's worth exploring them all and seeing, what appeals to you, what ticks your boxes, and what sounds the nicest to you. I think it's important we remember as well that sound is totally subjective, so you may read some reviews about a recorder and think, oh, people don't like the sound of this, but you might like the sound of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that people's ears, we all work in different ways. Sound is really subjective, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Get what works for you and what you like the sound of, and what you can afford as well. Don't, sort of go over budget. Don't do what I've do and hoarded loads of different recorders and spent loads of money on things that I don't really need. Just, try and settle on one that you think, yeah, this is the one for me. I love this one. This one has my heart. Further to that, actually, as well, there's some things which I have used in the past which I don't tend to do anymore, but there are microphones that you can get that you can plug into your mobile phone or your iPad or whatever, and they do pretty much exactly the same thing that this is doing, but it'll record directly to your phone, which can be really convenient. And if that's something you want to look at, Zoom do some good options in that area. And yeah, just remember to put your phone on airplane mode, otherwise it'll interfere with the mics and you'll get, weird noises. We don't want the weird noises. We want the river we're recording or the birds or whatever we're recording. So yeah, there's some good options for phone as well. And it's always something worth looking at. That might be more convenient for you than lugging one of these around, for example. Something else to note, for example, is that there's a lot of different microphone types out there. You've got shotgun mics, omnidirectional, cardioids, hypercardioids, supercardioids. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and there's a lot to explore. But I think when you're starting out, just try and keep it simple, and eventually you'll identify what it is that you want and what you're looking for, and what sort of sounds you're wanting to capture, and you'll get a sense of that, and you can then sort of research a bit more and go, I'm not sure that omnis are the right type of microphone for me. Maybe I need a shotgun mic because I'm looking to get sort of very focused mono sounds, for example, like I don't know, one Sennheiser or the Rode NT-Gs, I think they're called. I don't really use those. I've not had the pleasure of using them yet so far. But yeah, there's some amazing mics out there, but it can be really overwhelming to know where to start, which is why I'd always recommend just something like this. The beauty of the Tascam as well is that, you can record in mono, you can record in stereo, you can swivel these microphones on the top, so you've got a wider stereo field. Of all the recorders I've got, I think the Tascam X6 is actually my favourite for that reason. You've got everything here. XLR inputs for when you want to start plugging other microphones in, great quality inbuilt mics, and a lovely 3.5mm input jack with which is stereo, and it does supply phantom power and plug-in power. So it's a good all-rounder. And like I say, somewhere between the lower end and the higher end, but a bit of a Swiss Army knife, and we like that. 2, something else that you'll want is some headphones. These are some Audio Technica ones. I'll drop a link somewhere, and these are doing really well for me. I don't really sort of obsess about headphones. There's a lot that we can obsess about when we're recording sounds. Headphones, microphone types, what's got the lowest self noise, and all this sort of stuff. And to me, headphones are a means to an end. They allow me to hear what's being captured, and that's their function. But these are really good. I like them. They've got a really good sound overall, and they kind of block out what's around me a little bit, but there's not like an active noise cancellation going on. But yeah, I think any headphones, even some earphones, if you basically just wanted to listen and make sure that what you're capturing is what you are wanting to capture. So just some headphones, earphones, in-ear monitors. There's a lot of different options out there. Have a browse and just see what suits you. 3, foam and windshields and things like that. In fact, let me just demonstrate. If I take this off now, and if I just talk in much the same way, I mean, it's fine until you start saying things like Popeye, or I can't think of any other words that begin with P now other than rude ones. Peas, peas, Popeye, potato. Also, yeah, when you breathe, when you're talking, and you go, you'll notice rumble, you'll notice pops. Not nice at all. So foam like this, helps with that. Sort of just slide that back on there, and then when you say Popeye, potato, I keep wanting to say the other P word, but Popeye, potato, palace, anything like that, or even just, breathing. It does a good job of protecting in that respect. However, this will not do much to protect it from wind outdoors, and that's the biggest challenge. That's always the biggest challenge, I think, which is why I ended up with all of these dead cats. And this is only a small amount of them, including the one on my head. There's loads more, loads of them everywhere. I have drawers full of fluffy things like this, and it's ridiculous, but it is absolutely necessary. I'm going to take this off now because it looks a bit silly. So what things like this do is they slow down the air that's coming. You know, if you're outside and it's a bit breezy or it's a bit windy, they have some foam. Well, some of them have some foam on the inside, and they have fur on the outside. And the reason for this is that it slows the wind down before it gets to the mic capsules. So, you know, like for example, let me just demonstrate. So you're outside, it's windy, and it's a bit blowy. Oh, it's a bit blustery out here. What on earth will save us from this wind? Oh, I don't know. Maybe something like this. So it's still blowing a hula. Pop this on. I've not popped that on properly, but you know, it fits beautifully. It's by Radius Windshields, this one. And then and you can see the difference that it makes. So you will probably need to accrue these. If you want to record outside, you know, you can't just use the foam. I've tried it. I tried it many years ago. It doesn't work. You need the fur. You need something beautiful and fluffy like this dead wombat or dead cats or anything like that. And there's loads of them out there. There's loads of options. There's loads of great places doing these things. And let me just pop this back on. But yeah, so foam protects it from your pops and your plosives and your breath, but nothing really more than that. Fur protects it from wind, gusts, blustery things. But you've always got to bear in mind as well that there's only so much that these can do. There's Bumblebee Industries make some really good wind protection. Gutman makes some really good wind protection. And Radius Windshield makes some really good wind protection. But they can only go so far. Some days it's just too windy to record. And I hate those days with a passion. It makes me want to... You go out with your recorder and everything's all windy and horrible. It's like... Nothing makes me angrier. You'll swiftly come to realise as well that one of the big challenges with recording sounds is finding quiet places to actually capture the sounds. These microphones and external microphones as well, you know, they will pick up a lot of sound, which is great for ambience and things like that. But they'll pick up everything. They'll pick up the bloke behind you sneezing away and coughing and spluttering all over himself, or, you know, the person lighting a cigarette up 20 metres away. They'll pick up everything, which has its upsides but also has its downsides. And this is when you can start looking into different types of microphones that are a bit more sort of focused on the sound directly in front of them, rather than these sort of omnis that pick up everything, absolutely everything, every sound. It's ridiculous. But the good news is that obviously they pick up sound with incredible detail and clarity as well. So one of the things I like to do if I'm recording a river or basically any sound source that I'm recording, I try and get as close to the sound as I can to get the most detail in the recording, whilst also minimizing external noises like, you know, dogs barking in the distance, planes. There's always a plane. Every time you hit record, there's a plane flying over. It's ridiculous. It's like they just wait, and you know, air traffic control's like, Ryan's just hit record on his recorder. He's just bear left and just go over that way, and go over really slowly and really low as well. So it's like, and just do that for a long period of time, so that he'll get annoyed and he'll just have to sit there and wait to record his stupid birds that he's trying to get. Irritate him. But it's one of the challenges There's noises we want to record, there's sounds we want to record, there's sounds we want to capture. And there's a lot out there that we don't want to capture as well. And trying to sort of separate the two is a challenge. And it's a learning curve. And sometimes it's, again, a bit like when it's too windy. You just have to go, it's too windy for recording. Same thing, sometimes you go to a place to record and it's, loads of people there. It's a bit of a tourist hotspot. Everyone's there. There's children screaming, dogs barking, there's all sorts going on. And you just want to record the lovely, beautiful waterfall, but you can't because there's squawking all around you. And sometimes you just have to accept that as well. I'm not very good at accepting that. I get very angry. How dare these people be here and enjoying life when I'm trying to record some sounds? This is not fair at all. But it is what it is. And, that's life. It's something that we deal with, and it's something that we try to overcome in whatever capacity we can do. But it's a challenge. There's many challenges. I'd like to say that it's part of the fun to overcome those challenges, but it's really not. It's just irritating and it just angers me, something chronic. Anyway, remember, field recording is all about fun. Just have fun and don't get angry. If you want to record in some places where you think it's going to be extremely busy, and there's going to be a lot of people, it's very touristy, the best bit of advice I can give you, which I won't follow because I don't do getting up early in the morning, but get up early in the morning and try and get there before everyone else does. And, hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll be onto a winner. Otherwise, do what I do, stay in bed, sleep for a bit longer, and then get absolutely outraged that people have the audacity to be there when you want to record. It's disgraceful behaviour. Unacceptable. 4. Gain staging. So gain's important. You don't want a file that's too quiet. You don't want one that's too loud either, because if it's too loud, it's going to be clipping. If it's too low, you'll have to boost it a lot in post, which often brings with it a lot of sort of noise, and it just doesn't sound very pleasant. So the beauty of this recorder, for example, is that it is 32-bit flow, which is kind of a relatively new thing that's been sort of easing its way into recording devices and audio applications these days. And essentially it's not impossible to clip the audio. It's vastly more difficult, and you can turn the volume down in post and you can recover clipped audio. It might look like it's clipping, but you could bring it down and within a reasonable level, and you can save it. You can save the recording, which is great, because obviously in the past, your audio clips, that's it. It's ruined. It is unsalvageable. There's a certain set pressure level that these microphones can handle. So you can clip the signal actually before it even reaches the sort of converters and everything. And this would be, in instances where you put your Tascam X6 against 10 meters away from 20 tons of dynamite and it explodes, boom, massive boom. That boom would definitely create enough pressure to clip the microphones before it even reaches everything, so your audio would still be clipped. But for the most part, it's unclippable. But it's a really good option to have, particularly if you're starting out and you're not really sure on setting your levels and you're not really confident in it, and you don't want your audio too quiet, you don't want it too loud because you don't want it clipping, and you're maybe just struggling to find that sweet spot or trust where that sweet spot is. 32-bit will help you out massively. The vast majority of recorders are still 24-bit, but there are more and more 32-bit recorders coming out. And if it's something that you're unsure about, levels wise, you're new to it, 32-bit flow is great. You can always tidy it up in post. And like I say, unless you're blowing up a dinosaur with dynamite next to this, then you should be okay. Let's talk accessories. Now, one of the things that you probably want to avoid doing is holding basically any recorders. There's a couple that I have that are actually quite forgiving with handling noise. The Tascam X6 isn't one of those. You'll probably notice that there's no handling noise at the moment, and this is because I've practiced and practiced and practiced recording it with it handheld, and I've managed to get it. It's an art. It takes a while to get it right, but you know, it can be done. However, for the most part, if you try and record with this just in your hand, it'll probably sound more like this. Rattles and hand movements and vibrations and things like that. If you're careful with it, you can do it. And that's great. It's very liberating to sometimes not have to try and counter handling noise and just be able to handhold it like this. But for the most part, I wouldn't recommend hand holding it. See, there I moved my thumb like a tiny little bit. What I would recommend as a good purchase to help combat this is some sort of shock mount. There's two out there from Movo, a smaller one and a larger one, and I've actually found that the smaller one seems to do a better job somehow. I don't know why, but what I would recommend, if I'm going to be totally honest, is spend a little bit more money on what I have been using in this video. So this is the Ryko shock mount, and it does a really good job. But if you couple it as well with the Ryko sort of soft grip, it's really, I mean, you still have to be mindful. You always have to be mindful of your hand movements and things, but not to the same level. You can be a bit more robust with it, and it's less likely to transfer vibrational sounds to the capsules. So I'm here and I'm talking and I'm interviewing someone. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Someone. Can you tell me about your opinions on 32-bit float recording? I don't know.
Oh yeah, we think that it was very good. It was very fantastic and revolutionary and blah blah blah.
Now let's try that with it on this shock mount with the soft grip. And this should be a lot more forgiving. Mr. and Mrs. Someone, would you like to talk to me about, I don't know, 32-bit audio and blah, 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 away? Just do it. Just talk to me about it.
Well, yeah, it's really good, lovely, everything's fantastic and stuff.
Oh, that's really interesting. And would you like to talk about something that, you know, like what you had for tea on Sunday?
Oh yeah, we had bangers and mash, or toad in the hole, or whatever.
And see, you can move this and basically point it at whatever you want freely without worrying about handling noise. Now, if you go, you're going to get handling noise, but you just got to be careful. Just be careful with it. Treat it sensitively, and you'll get some great results. So I think the most important thing to do with field recording is to have fun, is to enjoy it, allow creativity to take over, allow it to expand your mind, and oh, there's the police. It's the popo. Allow it to expand your mind, allow it to develop your listening skills. You know, it's one of those hobbies and professions as well that I think really allows you to tune into the world and hear and experience sounds in really unique and creative and different ways. And I think that's really important. So enjoy. Get out there, get yourself some bits and bobs. You know, you've always got to factor in that there's the extra cost. The recorder itself, you know, unless you're recording kind of indoor sound effects, indoor situations, there's always going to be the extra cost of needing the dead cat and things like that. But once you've got it, you've got it. And you can just have fun. And there's nothing more exciting than just going out with a setup like this and just pointing it at things and going, oh, there's a robin over there. I can hear it. I can hear it singing. And then pointing this at the robin and hitting the record button and the robin shutting up. It's thrilling, There's like nothing beats it. Absolutely amazing. It doesn't always happen like that. It's happened a few times with sheep. You get there, all these sheep are bah, bah, bah. Like, oh, noisy sheep. Quick, let's get recording. Hit record. They all just shut up and walk off. Like, well, that's just rude, isn't it? It's a little bit rude and a little unacceptable. But anyway, that is some of the things that spring to mind when I think of field recording. If I was starting out, if I was beginning now, these are things that I'd want to know and things that I hope can help you if you're getting into field recording. And maybe if you've been field recording for a while now, you know, maybe there was something in here that you didn't know and maybe you learned something. Or just pop some comments down as well, and you know, let's share some knowledge, see if there's any other things that I'm not aware of that could help beginners in their exploration of sound. So take care of yourselves. Hope you've enjoyed this, and thank you. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye bye for now.